what can happen when you surround yourself with good people and just let them be good people. No Bats is a baseball related charity organization and that gets together once a year for a long weekend. And I started it after I got basically talked into it when I was living in Miami. Oh man, I got roped into that. A guy I worked with at Xerox was trying to get me to rent out Dodger Town, the spring training facility in Vero Beach that the Dodgers had for a very long time. That even if we go back to the Brooklyn Dodgers and in LA before they ended up moving away, I mean, everybody had played there, right? And so the history of the place was remarkable and all that stuff. And he's there saying, "Hey, rent it out. We'll get a bunch of guys and go play." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I can't even get a card game together. And he goes, "Trust me."
Which I find hard to believe, by the way. I find that.
I don't play cards well, so I lose all the time. It diminishes my interest in the game. But so he gave me the woman, Lisa Kent was her name at Dodger Town, Harrison Conference Services. I'll never forget it. And I called up and explained what I wanted to do. Now, this was really, if you think about it, this was really before a lot of these fantasy camp things had been invented.
Right.
So what do you want to do?
What year was this?
I called her in the winter in 90, and we had our first event in 91.
Yeah, this is well before fantasy camp started popping up.
Yeah, and so I had to explain what I wanted to do. And I had to explain basically that our fantasy camp was not to have anybody famous there. It was just to have a bunch of guys. And it ended up, the only thing I really knew that was important to me, because when I organized it the first time, all I wanted to do was really do it one time. I missed baseball very much playing, right? And I had this thought: what if I got hit by a car? My obituary said hadn't played ball in 15 years. I'd be like, oh my God, how awful that would read, And I figured there's probably other guys out there that feel the same way. But I was let's see, at that time I was in my mid 30s, I guess, and so I'm grinding, making house payments, I'm chasing checks, you grinding, you raise a kid, you're out of college and you're trying to be a real guy, and so there's a lot of hassle and stress that comes with that, and again I always lean on the fact that I'm incredibly normal. I feel normal about everything, and I figure, well, if I feel this way, other guys feel the same way. So I rented the place. And all I wanted to do was straight line the cost out to however many guys showed up. And, I didn't think I'd be able to get enough guys to do it. And in less than 2 business days, I had 42 guys signed up. And virtually none of them were my friends. Everybody knew somebody who knew somebody who was related to somebody who had a brother or a neighbor. Yeah. And that was really important then. And it has stayed important 30 years later, that No Bats through the years has evolved because of the fabric of the men involved, and nobody's in a better position to judge who belongs and who doesn't than the guys that are in it. But cross-pollination is everything. I didn't want it to be my club. I didn't want it to be Click Club. I didn't want to be any of it. I just wanted like-minded guys together. And then from the get-go in the very first year, the one thing that was really important that I have insisted on ever since is I wanted to protect the emotional experience of each guy who showed up. Managing emotional experience of those guys, very, very, it's the number one priority for me. And to the point that I was rather zealous in that. I wanted everybody to have a good time. I'm sick and tired of guys being negative to people. I want you to lift people up, not put them down. And I police that very, very tightly. But because of that, the culture of the club has evolved in a way that represents that. The guys in it role model that, and they know who fits and who doesn't. And over the years now, typically in a given year, we'll have 50 or 60 guys show up. But, over the years, we've had about 240 who've come and go for different reasons and all that kind of stuff. But we've raised and donated over $2 million now to a wide variety of charities.
Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Well, that all goes to the guys, and it goes to, that was spearheaded by a guy named Ted Darby out of Plano, Texas, who believed in the charity approach. And then he got his wingman, Dan Carroll, out of Chicago, D.C., puts on a golf tournament in Chicago each year, just because he thought it was a good way to raise extra money and awareness and stuff. And so I enjoy the benefits of being a front man, but it's the guys who've done this. You know, I just roll out the ball, man.
So tell us about some of the trips, some of the stories. I mean, some of them. We only have so much time, but there's so much there. One or two of them would just.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I don't even know where to start. The Reds were the best because they got it. I mean, the Cincinnati Reds Community Fund, they just get it. The Diamondbacks are the worst by far. Mm-hmm. Now, this was a long time ago now, right? And so they've changed. They've changed how they operate and the people involved and the ownership group and all. And so they're probably really good now, and I understand they are. What angered me is they confiscated our water and gator. They dropped a $10,000 charge on me a week before our event.
Oh.
And then confiscated our water and Gatorade at the gate, and then put in little tiny big trash cans full of ice and little tiny Gatorade bottles that they after the event they charged me, sent me a bill for $3.50 for each one. I mean, they were the worst, right?
Oh my Lord!
But I think because of things like that, it caused all the changeover for the better in that franchise. They're a lot better now, right? And the people running the community now are top shelf. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I only had one run with them that was a disaster. Right. But I do not want it to be interpreted as the way they do business today. That's totally incorrect. Right? Totally unfair.
Absolutely.
We had one major league franchise wanted to take $27,000 of our charity money and journal transfer it to their stadium ops people to help balance the budget. That didn't fly. We kicked that out. You know, we don't operate that way. We turn over every nickel and dime. The most poignant and emotional of our events was the year that Jim Catfish Hunter died. Jimmy had ALS, and we were all set to go to his hometown in Hertford, North Carolina, a little farm town. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy died a month before our event. And we had our event as his machine shop anyway. And the club has remained very, very close to the ALS cause, you know, to Jim's family, you know, Helen and the kids. And that was a very poignant experience for us, to the extent that we went back there for I think it was our 25th anniversary as well. We returned there because I refer to that as a spiritual home. Mm-hmm. You know, we went to Cooperstown was a mess. Before they built all the extra stadiums, the only place you could play in Cooperstown way back in the early years was either a Doubleday Field or at the high school. And we got rained out of Doubleday Field, so I went and played in the high school. And then I got a call on Monday from the principal yelling at me for playing on his field. So for a long time, I said, you know, the hardest place to play ball in America.
This all started at Dodger Town, mind you. So
exactly.
Let's go.
First 3 years I went there, and then went to Cooperstown from 94 because the players' strike was on, and we sided with the players. So instead of taking up alliances with major league uniforms and stuff, we did minor league stuff, right? And went on the road. Rickwood Field, Birmingham was a lot of fun. Historic place, you know. Cobb played there. Willie Mays grew up right there. I mean, it was great. And we paid guys to watch our cars while we were there because it's a tough neighborhood. But great historic place, and that was where Darby started the whole charity angle for our club. You know, Ted Darby, a great man, driving force in our charity initiative, and he managed the budget so well. We had some money left over, so we donated it to Friends of Rickwood to help renovate the field. Yeah. And on and on and on. I mean, a lot of.
So you have all these wonderful trips, all these great. I mean, a ton of laughs, great guys, and you become a part of each other's life, the very fabric of each other's lives. And you've lost some members. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that meant to you and how you honor that?
You know, for me, Ed, it was, and it's always devastating, right? My guys know that I love them, and one of the things that I sort of always hoped for was that I didn't ever have to have one of us get buried. I wanted everybody to live happily ever after as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And the first guy that we lost that really broke my heart was George Simmons, who was killed on 9/11. He was on the plane that was skyjacked into the Pentagon. Mm-hmm. along with his wife. And we had his charity check that year that he had written out. We're going to Wrigley, and I had it framed, and it's hanging in the office in Wrigley right now, with Cubs office for Cubs Care. But the sudden nature of that tragedy was devastating to me. And earlier this year, we had a guy who wasn't feeling good, decided to drive himself to the doctor, had a heart attack on the way to the doctor, and it was over for him. And he loved baseball more than anybody. Yeah. And one of my closest friends, one of my founding buddies, Smiling Jay Davis, he got killed by a drunk driver. Smiler left 5 girls and a loving wife. Another fella, Mike O'Neill Luther. Luther, we called him because he was a doppelganger for Jerry Van Dyke on the old TV show. So, I mean, you swear it was him, right? Luther. We were helping Cal and Billy Ripken, and Billy's the funniest man in baseball. I mean, I absolutely loved going to Rip City with that guy. But it was the weekend of the DC Sniper, when those guys, Malvo and the other guy, were shooting guys out of the trunks of their cars.
Oh.
And there was a tropical storm or something blowing through Baltimore, and it was raining like crazy. And Billy made Ellie, his sister, get out and get to the park at 5 o'clock. We played the Ironbirds minor league park, and he's out there making a roll of tarp for us. He said, they came to play ball, they're playing ball. How can you not love Bill Ripken, right? But at our event, it was sort of somber because, you had the weather was bad and the DC Sniper was bad. And so Luther, God bless him, decided to spice things up. He got called up front to get an award or something. He comes skipping up there like a little kid, and he's going past Vi Ripken, Cal and Bill's mom, and he just stops and plants a big kiss on her. And I'm like, oh my God. And Cal and Billy laughing like crazy. But it was just a spur of the moment thing. And so, and so when I lost Luther, he lit up every room. He was one of the kind of guys who lights up a room when he walks in. You either light it up when you go in or you light it up when you go out.
Right.
And this guy was just instant mayhem.
Yeah.
And so we have lost some guys over the years. We've lost wives, we've lost children, which is, each time it drains some life out of it, right? But all of it enriches me with so much that I've still got more to give. And I think all the fellas feel that way. When something bad happens, you're never alone. Mm-hmm. And this is important, I think, as men get older. I think it's easy to make friends when you're growing up, maybe into high school, maybe into college. But after that, you go your separate ways. It gets hard. And what we have built throughout the years is a brotherhood of quality guys who care about each other, who are there through thick and thin. And unfortunately, mortality is, really inconvenient. Mortality ruins a lot of weekends, but no man in our club is ever alone, and he knows it. And I think we all value that and protect it.
That's what's so huge about it, right? I mean, that's what makes the club so special, because it's about way more than just what's on the surface. And one of the things about, guys and clubs and teams, if you will, is nicknames. All right. And you guys do a fabulous job of ordaining, as we called it, guys with nicknames. Yeah.
Baseball, it's such a brilliant vehicle for what we do for so many reasons. I thought it was the perfect vehicle for no bets because it's a team game played by individuals.
Yep.
That's what we are. The ball will find you, and it always does. Mm-hmm. You'll have a chance to be a hero and a chance to be a GOAT. And stuff is gonna happen.
Not that many rules either. What are is it 4 rules? What are the 4 rules of the trip?
No wives, no kids, no drugs, and no arguing.
Okay.
And we really have never had a crossword in 30 years. And because everybody knows if we have a disagreement, it's a do-over. Big deal. Do it again, right? And so, but yeah, the nicknames. Baseball is the greatest of all sports because the baseball will give you your nickname. You will get you the name that you deserve. I got one of my closest buddies, Mark Matthews. I nicknamed him the Poet Laureate because he doesn't say much, but everything he says is brilliant, right? And it's right on the money. I talk a lot. But I don't say much, right? Mark says a lot by saying a little, right? And but Smiling J. Davis, got killed by the drunk driver, one of my closest friends. He got that nickname when we were in Bimini in the Bahamas playing a Goodwill game because we all just throw in 20, $25 for dinner.
Right.
And we're in the Bahamas with Bimini. We're an island of 1,300 people.
Right.
And they made a big to-do out of it. And they boned and rolled and, bonefish, stuffed bonefish. It was delicious, fantastic.
Beautiful, yeah.
Smiler didn't like seafood. And he didn't like salad. So he paid 20 or $25 for a baked potato, right? And that's how he's grousing about it. And so we have the big photo. We got the Bahamian politicians there and the local guys and us and everybody everybody's smiling ear to ear. And Smiler got this frown because all he could think of is he paid $20 for a baked potato.
That was a good baked potato, though.
It was really good, but so I saw when the photo came out. I just looked at it. I go, "There's Smiling J. Davis," and he carried that name forward from that point forward.
Yeah.
So guys should get a name. I'm not the only one. A lot of guys, Luther, Bob Moyer gave Luther his name, and all that stuff. But and then that's how you're known in the club, And so each year when the guys get together, they'll call each other out by the name that they know them by. They don't really know the real name,
right?
And that's okay. That's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is all men are created equal in the club. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, how big your bank account is, how tall you are, how old you are. It don't matter. Everybody's equal. Yeah. And it's just been a pleasure to grow old with these men. They've honored me with their friendships.
Yeah, and the type of donations, or I should say the type of charities you give the donations to. Do you want to touch on that for a second there?
Yeah, wide variety. Ed, my take on it was I wanted to expose them to something different every single year because I want them to get exposed to all these different things out there and hope they would stick with it beyond the year that we're there. Mm-hmm. And so there's a wide variety of charities that we've supported. A lot of times it will align with either the star who's hosting us, like Randy Johnson was big on homelessness. He self-funded a lot of money along with his wife in support of homelessness in the Phoenix community, right? Mm-hmm. And so RJ was about that. Cal was like adult literacy and the launching of the Boys and Girls Club in honor of his father and stuff like that. Tony Gwynn, all about self-esteem, the Tony and Alicia Gwynn Foundation in San Francisco. Jim Hunter, Catfish Hunter, the ALS Foundation. And so that, and we've done RBI quite a bit. And we also had an event that we worked with BAT, the baseball assistance team out of New York, to help the few remaining Negro Leaguers, who are still legitimate. There's a bunch of fakes running around, but the ones who are legitimate, we help them out too. So what we always wanted to do was have a good cause and underscore the two things to the guys. One is it's important to give back, right? And we'll expose you to all these different one each year. But the other thing that I wanted to be able to do was make it seamless. So we collect the money and we hand all the money over. So the charity gets the roster of donors and the addresses and the emails and the amount. We don't take anything. Right. Everything's made out directly to the charity itself, 501c3s.
It's great work.
And they keep 100%. And I think that all of us in the club are really, really proud of that. Yeah. We're proud of it. We're not 90%, we're 100%, right? And so that's how it's changed. And then each year when we decide where we're going to go or we get invited somewhere, we work with that location and figure out what is best for that community. We want our money to get as close to the eventual recipients as possible.